Obviously landing a big client is always difficult. So, but I think it does come back to being an expert in a niche that's not saturated. I mean, if you take any area or any product or any, pretty much any business in the world. I mean, if I was going to break in to the oil business, right now might be a good time to be an expert on fracking. And let me learn more than the engineer knows, and let me know more than the operator knows about that. And it's not that much work. I mean, yeah, I'm saying when I say not that much work, it's probably a 1 year commitment. And at the end of that, I could set up a consulting business and probably within a year of that, make enough contacts and then eventually parlay that into, a larger business. So a lot of people, I think the biggest misconception people have right now is, they watch too many rap videos. Stuff does not happen overnight. They watch too many of these athletes. You're broke 20 years later, 15 years later. I mean, life doesn't work that way. The reality is I was a multi-millionaire, living, living in my own house, but at the same time, I barely had furniture. I drove a beat up Nissan and I had $2 million worth of inventory, down the street at my shop. But I sacrificed, and that's what you have to do to build yourself. And that's what you have to do to really make it. And that's, I think, the part that everybody misses. Everybody's like, I want to be wealthy. I want to be I want to be that guy, and really what it takes, the reality of it and what they see are very far apart. And I think a lot of that has to do with the media, the way they portray things, and this instant gratification, especially the new generations, I feel like are very, instant gratification. And it just doesn't work that way. I'd love to say it does. It just doesn't work that way, though. And if it did work that way, the way the athletes and these rappers are, most of them are broke also. 95% of them are broke, 15 years later. Go online and, research the statistics. So, if you haven't earned it the way you're supposed to earn it, you're not going to keep it. And that's generally, there's some exceptions to that rule, but that's generally the way it works.
But you just, like right now, you just said something really interesting. Like, in terms of the reality and the perception are two completely different things because of the media, which I agree with as well. What is the reality behind opening a consulting agency? Tell me about the reality part that people don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, beyond becoming an expert and being able to put in a lot of hard hours, and, as a consultant, you're literally, on a smaller scale, running all of the same pieces you would be if you were running a business. So, you do have to be well versed in a lot of things, and most people don't want to hire a consultant that hasn't done it, hasn't proved themselves. So, I also meet a lot of people that are consultants, and I'm like, have you ever owned the business you're talking? You're giving advice on? No. Have you ever even owned any business? No. You have no business advising people on, what to do with a $30-40 million a year revenue business, if you've never even had a business that's done $1 million a year. I mean, and this is the problem, in my field in advertising. We get a lot of MBAs, these guys that come out and they think, just because they went to, whatever school to get their degree, that they have this particular expertise, but it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So I think if someone wants to be a consultant, open your own small business before you're a consultant. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter even how minimal the revenues are. But get a good grasp on all the pieces that are involved in a business. And then you'll really be in a position then to give people advice. Giving people advice has to do a lot with failure. You got to have enough failure and that's what gives you the wisdom. And then you take that wisdom and you turn it into giving people advice.
So that was really, really well said. I think it's very true that a lot of people look at consulting as a first entry point rather than an exit point where they've already done something.
Absolutely exit point. Like when I sell everything and I'm done, even though I've done a lot of consulting along the way, and that's kind of going to be my gig. I'm just,
You take a few gigs there and you help other people do what you've done ultimately.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, that's a really difficult subject. I usually don't publish those prices. Usually what I do is, you really need to meet with your client and see what level of engagement you're going to have and, what your time commitment's going to be. So everybody values their time a little bit differently. I do a lot of consulting for free, but I've also charged as much as $200,000 in one quarter just for myself. So, it just varies.
But do you do it based on hours is what I mean? Like, I'm not necessarily looking for how much you charge, but
No, I don't think it's based on hours. I mean, look, if I can come into your operation and I can give you 10 minutes of advice that's going to change your operation, I want to be paid for what that's worth. I have a very unique, I guess you could say, type of background and experience. And if I come in your operation and I help you and I fix whatever issues you're having and I can double your revenues and it might take me 10 minutes, I want $200,000. Why not? So, but on the flip side, if I look at somebody's business that they brought me in and I see, look, it's a high level of engagement, the benefit I'm going to provide them is a little bit more difficult to measure, then my rates are going to be different, because I'll look at those opportunities. And here's another thing about consulting: every opportunity you're learning as well. I love consulting from the fact that I learn more than I give. That's the reality of it. If you're observant, I learn how people run their business processes, and I pick up stuff, and it's more accumulated knowledge. But I think, so if it's not a very measurable type of consulting, the type of advice you're giving and what you're doing for them, then you definitely take a very reduced rate. I mean, $100 an hour, $60 an hour, whatever, something on the minimal side, something much less than you're probably worth, So, and that's just generally the way I look at it, because at the end of the day, if someone brings in a consultant, they're either bleeding money, they're either stuck, or they want to increase revenues, right? I mean, usually you're not going to bring in a consultant for anything else, right? I'm stuck with this model, help. I'm going to go out of business if this keeps up, help. Or, I've had a lot of growth and now I don't know what to do, help. And it's just, it kind of falls into one of those three categories, regardless of whether it's, business consulting, legal consulting, advertising consulting. I mean, it's all the same thing, So, so you kind of got to look at the job, and I think a one-size-fits-all is not the way to go on that, and you're not maximizing, yourself. So I think you got to be a little bit opportunistic when it comes to consulting and kind of see how much can I help this person. I'm going to charge them based on how much I feel like I can help them. And if I feel like more or less I'm going to be able to kind of work them through some difficult problems that's maybe not going to so much increase their revenues, but going to make their life a little bit easier, I'm not going to charge a lot for that.
All right. And I guess a lot or a little is subjective to who your client is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think, today, $100, when I used to have $20 when I was 18, I thought I was rich, this was a lot of money to spend on a Friday night. And, today with $100, I'm just like, I'm poor, man. I can't even take my kids to Dave & Buster's. What's going on?